meeting. And this evening, we have two cases. We have case 0619, special exception, and case 0719 is a variance. Oh, we actually have, I'm sorry. This is actually one case with two applications. So for case 0719 is a variance, and also requesting a case 0819 for an equitable waiver. Chip's no longer here. He left last week. Unfortunately, Kelly, who was taking Chip's place, is not here this week, so we're kind of doing this on our own. So what we'll do here is, when I said Chip, he's the used to be the land use coordinator. Okay. Before I start, each time we have a case, we seat the board to do that. And once we seat the board for the given case, I will read the abstract, basically what not completely, but at least what's contained in the application. Then we would ask the board, I will ask the board for a motion to accept the application. What that means is, we think it's complete enough for us to hear the case. And what we'll do is, after we get a motion, we get a second discussion, I'll ask for a vote. If we get 3 votes out of 5, we will hear the case. If we don't get 3 votes, then we'll figure out what's deficient in the application. Assuming we have a complete application for us to proceed, if any time, once we start the case, that we find it is insufficient once we get into the case, I'll stop the proceeding. We'll figure out what the problem is. Maybe the individual can, the applicant can bring additional information they may have, and or we'll continue it to go get some more information if it's necessary. Once we have moved to having the applicant forwards, in the case of a variance, we have a criteria of 5 points of hardship that has to be made. Each one of those variance 5 has to get at least 3 yeses. It doesn't have to be the same yeses as the other 4, if you will, but it has to be at least 3 out of 5. Once we do that, the applicant does his pitch. We'll ask if board members have any questions. If not, at that point, we'll ask the applicant to sit down, and then I will go around the room and ask approving abutters wish to speak. You get up and you state your name and try and be concise of what you may not want to endorse this application. Once we've gone through everybody who's a non-approving abutter, then we'll move to approving abutters. Then we'll do public at large and other boards. Once that's done, I'll ask the applicant if he or she wishes to get up and rebut anything that may have been said. After that, if there is a rebuttal, I'll ask if any abutter is approving, go around the room again, approving, disapproving, public at large, other boards. And then once we've gone twice through the room, I will then close the hearing, and we will take up the conditions of the, for instance, for a variance, 5 points of hardship. So, for the first case, before we start, could you introduce yourself?
Mark Moretti, member.
Michael Meyer, member.
Malcolm Wright, member.
Thank you. And for this case, you remember which one of you were here? So, why don't you come forward, Gary? Oh, she's the next one? Okay. Come on down. Here's our 5th member. She's an alternate. Okay.
Bobby Joffelman, an alternate.
Thank you. With that, let me just quickly read off this application. Eleanor/Robert Chapman, and it's 226 Colby Road, Weare, New Hampshire. Owner address being the same, property address, location the same. Tax map and lot is 412-165 residential agricultural. And the property address, the frontage is 305, the rear line is 317, sideline west is 751, and east sideline is 801. The structure is our primary residence, and we are proposing to create an in-law apartment, or an accessory apartment, as it's called out, in an existing furnished basement. Why does your proposed use require an appeal to the zoning board of adjustment? Special exception is required for accessory dwelling unit. Okay, that's 0619. There is 7 points of hardship. There is a schematic showing square footages for various rooms and list of abutters. There is a hand-drawn schematic of the property. Maybe it's not, I guess you drew your, I guess this is an excerpt of a survey, and you drew on your dwelling and driveway. So you have a property sheet, property card. With that, motion to accept the application 0619.
Move to accept application 0619.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Being none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Whoever wishes to make the presentation tonight?
Presentation.
Do you have a copy of your own?
We don't. She took it to make copies and we never got copies. Oh, great.
If you could.
Oh, you want us to read the questions?
And the reason I want you to read is because we're the only ones that have the copy. People in the room do not have a copy or at home, so whoever wants to do it, be my guest. And if you would read second page, those 7 points.
Sure. The specific site and its appropriate location for such a use or uses in terms of overall community development. The proposed changes within the character and zoning of the neighborhood. The site is our primary residence, and there is an existing bedroom that is used for family visits. It will provide a housing opportunity for a family member. The proposed use will not adversely affect the neighborhood and shall produce no significant reduction of real estate values in the neighborhood area. The modification proposed will not be visible from the street, as the change will occur within the existing structure. Entry is from the rear of the home, and the neighborhood supports other multifamily dwellings at this time. The proposed use will not be a nuisance or serious hazard to vehicular traffic or pedestrians. The proposed use will only allow for 1 to 2 residents. The road is currently heavily traveled by a wide variety of vehicle traffic. The proposed use will not cause an undue burden on the town through the provision of basic town services. There's little to no effect foreseen to the town's services other than the use of town offices for registrations, etc. Adequate off-street parking will be provided if determined necessary by the Zoning Board of Adjustment. There is ample off-street parking at this time with easy access. A buffer may be required to screen neighboring uses from the proposed use. Buffers may be fence screens, dense planting of suitable trees and shrubbery, or naturally occurring shrubs and trees. No buffers should be required, as the change will not be visible from the street and being done within the structure. The home has limited visibility from neighbors. The Zoning Board of Adjustment, in granting any special exception, may include such restrictions or conditions to ensure compliance with this section. Owner will obtain any permits that may be required. Signed by me, Eleanor Chapman, date 5/2/2019.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
At this time, I'm going to ask the vice chair if he can go down the laundry list of 7 items or whatever.
Sure.
and make sure that we're compliant with the requirements.
Special exception for accessory dwelling 1910, there's actually 8 conditions that must be met. Your plan shows 720 square feet of living space, so 19.1.10.1 talks about being less than 750 square feet, not containing more than 2 bedrooms, so you're compliant with that. And you don't plan on having more than 2 persons per bedroom, as you said in your application. The accessory dwelling unit shall either be constructed or within or attached to a single dwelling. One question, will there be any construction required for this, or is this just
There
essentially?
will have to be an egress window.
Right, in in the bedroom.
Yeah.
One with the room that would be used as a bedroom, we want to put, there's like a cellar window, but we want to put in a legal egress,
Okay,
right?
Well,
You
I
know
thought
better.
we had to do that.
That's correct.
yeah, because it's a bedroom, yeah.
It has to do
Below
with
grade.
not so much this, but
Right,
compliant to building codes.
Right,
right.
But there is a walkout.
yes, it's a
Exit.
Yeah, there's
walkout, yeah,
no steps.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's a walkout.
So it is within the existing structure, at least one interior connecting door or other access for persons to pass between. You have a stairway marked, I assume
Yep.
that goes up to the
Yeah.
existing house. Septic system design capacity we have approved, so that'll have to be looked at to make sure you're compliant with your
Yeah, it's
existing
three
septic.
bedroom,
Yeah.
which is what our
Yeah.
house is 3-bedroom,
We have 2 bedrooms upstairs, and
one.
it'll just be one in the cellar.
Well, I think the technical issue is a change to the law from DES. And I believe Kelly, before she'll issue a building permit, validate, and I don't particularly know the details, but if there's a certain nomenclature for your permit, it's okay. If it doesn't contain the proper nomenclature, then you will have to get a design and upgrade the system. That's not our business. That's to be compliant with DES. And that's a recent change, so I just learned about it.
So more informational for you
Yeah.
to know what's coming. No new entrance or exit to an accessory dwelling shall be constructed facing the front of the single-family dwelling. You said the existing entrance is what you plan on using, and it's in the back of the house?
Yep, it's a
Yeah.
walkout, yeah.
Very good. 2 parking spaces shall be provided for an accessory dwelling unit, and no new curb from the street. It looks like you have 130-something, 38-foot driveway, so
Yeah.
that should not
Yeah.
be an
There's
issue.
plenty of room.
Exterior construction and material shall be uniform with the single-family dwelling, no exterior construction, so that's good. And either the accessory dwelling unit or principal dwelling shall be the principal residence and legal domicile of the owner of the property, which you plan on staying there and living there. So, Mr. Chairman, they meet all the conditions of the exception.
Thank you. You may have a seat.
Thank you.
You may have seats there. Any approving of butters wish to speak? Wait, before I start, anybody from the board wish to ask a question? Pretty straightforward, sorry. Any approving butters? Any disapproving butters? Any public at large? Other boards? You're welcome to rebut whatever's been said. Being none, why don't we just close the meeting? And at this point, I will request a motion to accept. We always make motions into the accept, so yes means yes, no means no.
Move to accept case 0619.
Thank you, Mark. Second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? It's pretty straightforward. I'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. You can take the rest of the night off if you wish. Okay.
So will we hear?
Yeah, Kelly's,
And then you'll look into that other.
well, I won't, but Kelly replaced Chip.
Sure.
He was on vacation, all scheduled ahead of time. So anyways, she won't, my understanding is she won't be in until next week. That's all I know, so she'll tell you what you need to do.
All right.
That sounds good, we're waiting here.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you so much for your time.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
A memoir.
Thank you.
I like the area. I like the area. Okay. moving on.
We're switching. You don't want to?
You don't want to get up? She's fine. She's too comfortable. Okay. This evening, the next two cases is for the same applicant. Am I correct? Right, just want to make sure. And Chip and I had a discussion on this, and it fits a variance. You can make a variance request, that's what I meant to say. Or it appears to fall under an equitable waiver, which is a creature of statute from the, it's another one of those not very often used, and it's basically a waiver for a dimensional issue. And what I mean by that is, there's a setback violation should this building, basically the builder, or the building, the bank won't give the money unless there's a building permit, a whole bunch of stuff, occupancy permit. So, irrespective, I'm sure we'll hear about it, but how this was constructed is too close to an abutter's property. So with that said, why don't I ask, the board, current board will be seated for this time. And is the applicant here?
Yes, sir.
Why don't you come up front here? We can go do both of them. Why don't you tell us a little bit of why you're here?
Members of the board, I'm here because I just built a brand-new residential structure on 995 South Stark Highway for myself, my 3 kids, and my wife, soon-to-be wife, hopefully. We built the house in Weare because we love the location. She actually currently lives in she currently lived in Hillsborough. We've been in a hotel for about 10 days now because the house was supposed to be done, but we had to wait for the meeting to get the variance, hopefully. I lived in Belmont before this. I grew up in Alton. Joined the military. Been in the military for, as of tomorrow, 11 years. 2 tours, and just I'm ready to kind of settle down with me and my family, and just really want to enjoy the area. We love the kayaking. We love the area, so we're just really excited to be here. So that's why we're hoping to be here to get that variance, so we can be part of this community.
Okay. Before we get on the path of doing the actual, what's the problem with dealing with the
So
specifics?
The problem, the setback, the house was, we had plans, and when our site guy started setting the rocks and the stuff for the footings, he noticed that there was a little weak spot right in the southwest corner on the back of the house, where he put a boulder the size of a mini car and it just sunk. So he and myself and my project manager, sat and said, we got to move the house. With the understanding that the side setback was still in compliance based on the stakes that were put by the engineers, that we were all misunderstood of what those stakes were. There's 2 stakes, one was told by me to be the property line, and then there was a stick in the ground with exactly 25 feet away. So myself, the site guy, the project manager, were all under the understanding that those were the boundaries. So we were able to move that. We moved the house with those 2 stakes in mind, and that still would have given us 14 feet difference. We're on the misconstrued, and that caused the house to be now only 1 foot, about 8 inches away, because of those stakes.
So as a result, I'm not sure about the bank, but the town, knowing there's a setback violation, will not provide an occupancy permit.
Correct.
So the building permit's already been done, and you're basically in the final cleanup.
Correct. The
This
house
is
is
where
completely done,
You-
painted.
Oh, came up, okay.
There's a couple rooms to paint, but that's about it.
Now, there is a equitable waiver, which is defined, and it's for errors of judgment, not nefarious acts. And so, he's kind of got 2 shots. If he doesn't make it on the equitable waiver,
You can do both, okay.
yeah, he can do
Yeah.
as many as he wish. So, I told him to come forwards with both, in case he gets turned down for the equitable waiver, he's got a shot at the variance. So, the other alternative is to wait till something is done. I mean, other than this, I mean. So, with that said, we're kind of in uncharted territory, but I propose we go and see how the equitable waiver works out. Okay?
So the house is built,
Correct, sir.
Exactly.
it was a mistake.
It was an absolute
And
mistake.
could you repeat, how far out is it now? It's,
We're about 23 feet over the where it's supposed to be. So,
20 say that again?
23 feet. So we.
He's
this-
1.8, 1 foot, 8 inches,
Encroaching.
2. No,
On the-
not encroachment.
Well, not on the setback.
23.4, you're exactly.
Right, okay, I
But
just
not
wanna
to
make sure about that.
wetlands, to the neighbor's property.
To the neighbor's property,
Okay.
which I.
That's
He's
what
not
I-
over.
That's
They
what I
had,
thought.
the minute
He's
I found out, I
almost.
immediately went to her and tried to give her the information as soon as possible, because I found out May 6th, the day the application was done. Luckily, I was able to,
How did you come
Basically,
to
this
find
is,
out?
this is a good faith mistake.
absolutely, sir.
And just one more question with that. There were inspections along the way.
Correct.
And so it wasn't just one party making an error.
So what
multiple
happened
parties
is
have made errors.
the engineers came back out, they replotted it. It took them forever because of their schedule. So then it took about roughly another 7 to 10 days before it got back to Chip, the home inspector. And that's when he came out, told my project manager, myself, and that was on May 6th, the day the application was done. And at that point, the house was already up, everything, pretty much the electrical was done.
Why would it have to be resurveyed?
Because because when they came out and redid everything, the house was up. The engineers just came out, because they're,
They wanted a certified plot plan.
Right. That's the
Oh,
requirement.
oh, okay.
To do the certified plot plan, and they were so backed up, we were waiting and waiting on them.
And you continued with the house and then they came and said, you're too close.
I've never had an issue before.
Yeah.
Let's, it feels like an executive, excuse me, like an equitable waiver. Why don't we try the case for that?
yes, sir.
See if we still think it's kind of okay. So, to that end, there should be an application here. Which one's the variance?
This is the.
Oh, equitable waiver, sorry. Okay, at this point, with the members seated, you could have a seat for a second. Just have a seat. Right there, be fine. Okay, this is per RSA 7433 of the undersigned request, an equitable waiver for dimensional requirements of 18, section 2.3 of the zoning ordinance permit. It's basically filled out with the 4 questions. It is signed. This is a fairly simple form. And there is is this your survey or your does this identify your problem?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is a survey that discovered the problem, okay? So this is accurate as is right now, okay? So with that, do you have a copy of this?
I do not. I do have the 4 questions that I've typed up.
Gary, please supply your copy.
I do have 4 questions.
Sure, you can read those. If you read the question,
We need to
and
accept the case. And just formality to bring it in.
what's the question?
Do we need to accept the case? We have.
Yeah, I got a question here.
I'm not sure what that, yeah.
That should be a use restriction,
Yeah.
typo.
Yes.
But we got a little problem, I just want to make sure. So we found a little issue. On one parentheses, next to the last word, S-U-E, Sue, should be U-S-E, use. Okay? When I looked at it, I went, whoa, okay. U-S-E, okay. So, at this point, accept the application. Motion, please.
Move to accept application 0819 for the equitable waiver.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Being none? Okay. You can take us through 1 through 4. Read the question and the answers.
Okay. Per RSA 674-33, the undersigned hereby requests an equitable waiver for the dimensional requirements from Article 18, Section 2-3 for the zoning ordinance to permit the current location of the house to remain in a location that is non-conforming with the ordinance requirement of 25 feet setback of the property line. 1. Does the request involve dimensional requirement bit use restriction? No. 2. Explain the violation has existed for 10 years or more with no enforcement action, including written notice being commenced by the town. It has not been 10 years.
Right.
Explain how the nonconformity was discovered after the structure was substantially completed or after a vacant lot and the violation had been transferred to a bona fide purchaser. Nonconformity was not discovered until well after the footings were poured, house was placed on the foundation, and the survey came out to replot the new location of the house. However, nonconformity was not fully away or verified until the town inspector received the new plot plans from the surveys for approximately another 7 to 10 days. How was the violation was not an outcome of ignorance of law or bad faith, but resulted from a legitimate mistake. The house was relocated out of good faith and the safety of the structure because of the presence of wet spot of the original planned location that would have placed the southwest corner of the footings in water. The new location was picked with the clear understanding that the house would still be within regulatory guidance to meet the ordinance requirements of 25 feet side setback to the property line. 3. Explain how the nonconformity does not constitute a nuisance nor diminish the value or interfere with future uses of the property in the area. Nonconformity does not constitute a nuisance nor diminish the value of interfering with the future use of other properties in the area because Lot 116 and Lot 117 already have shared common drive. Both lots are large wooded lots, and nonconformity is unnoticeable to the general public. The house is set back 300 feet. There is also plenty of privacy and distance between both residents of Lot 116 and 117. Currently, the residents are barely visible from one another's residence. I, Robin Rojak, owner of Lot 116, have spoken to the owner, Sandra Peer of Lot 117, about the issue, and she expressed no concern with the location of the house. We have even discussed the option of swapping land, the sale or purchase of the footage required to gain the required 25 feet setback. 4. Explain how the cost of correction far outweigh any public benefit to be gained. The cost of correction of this honest mistake outweighed any public gain benefits because, per rough estimate by project manager, the correction and relocation of the house would cost approximately $70,000 to $80,000. This would cause myself, the owner, to forfeit the loan. This would cause the house to remain unfinished, vacant, and to be foreclosed on, which could cause other properties to diminish in value. I also believe the public would lose 5 great people that again to add it to the great community.
Thank you. Any questions from the board based on the application? Have a seat, please. Any approving abutters wish to speak to this? Yes, ma'am. Come on down. State your name, please.
My name is Sandra Pierre. I'm at 997 South Stark Highway, which is the adjacent lot. I confirm what Mr. Rojak said, that as soon as he became aware of this issue, he came, knocked on my door, talked to me about it face to face. I believe that it was an honest mistake, and I agree that the position of his house is a good distance from mine. So the fact that it's less than 25 feet from the property line, it's not like it's less than 25 feet from my house. So I don't have a problem with the issuance of a variance or an equitable waiver.
Okay.
I have expressed an interest in possibly adjusting the property line to make it,
That's
to
a
have the
civil-
border of
that's a
25
civil
feet
matter,
again. Right, and
between the two parties.
I've been trying to connect, I was trying to connect with Chip and never did so, and I guess.
He is in Never Never Land. He's east of Eden, the land of Nod now. He is retired.
Okay, well, I've left a voicemail for Kelly, so hopefully I can speak with her next week.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public at large, other boards? You wish to rebut?
Thank you.
That's fine. Proving abutters, disproving abutters, public at large, other boards. Okay. At this point, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I will entertain a motion to accept the equitable waiver for
Motion to accept.
0819.
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion. Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. You have your equitable waiver.
Welcome to town.
Does he need to withdraw his other case?
You can, if you, we will withdraw it for him, so we just want to act
Just
on it.
making sure.
That's it. Thank you for your service.
Welcome to Weare.
Thank you, neighbors.
Alrighty. That's it. We have any minutes?
I didn't see any.
I didn't say any.
They were in email, but we didn't
Yeah,
have
oh.
hard copies.
We're gonna have to, maybe Kelly. Okay. We'll take them up next time. With that, vote for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.